Alright everybody, this is going to be my settings guide for BattleBit, and the first thing I'm actually going to do is I'm going to start on your desktop, and I know a lot of you guys will have this done, but it'll be a life changer for some of you. Open up your NVIDIA control panel, and if you have a 144Hz monitor, make sure with this here, if you go open up your NVIDIA control panel, and then it should be on this by default, switch it to change resolution on the display section, and then pick your resolution that is whatever you want really, but I'd just do the highest one available. And then click refresh rate and check if you have these options and switch it to the highest one you can. Now, I've had this with my monitor. I don't know why this happens sometimes. Sometimes when I have my color settings different, I actually have different options. I don't know why, but sometimes on the other options, I can't get this higher resolution and my highest refresh rate. I can only get 120. So maybe muck around with that and have a look. But yeah, make sure you've done that because I know a few people in my life who have had 144Hz monitors and didn't know that they actually didn't have it selected because it doesn't select by default. So that's actually the first thing I'm going to teach you that's outside of the game. Alrighty, so now we're going to be doing in-game settings. I'm just going to go top to bottom. I'll also have chapters at the bottom of the screen. If you hover your mouse over, that'll tell you the particular sections we're in. But yeah, I'm just going to start with gameplay and then go down. So, in gameplay, I have all of these things turned on. I do not know what borders is. I've got a feeling it's map borders, but I'm not too sure. I do not know what share loadout is and auto ready when dead is either. I actually do not know what these are. I have them turned on because it's by default. But yeah, I've got show pings, which is the pings that your squad mates leave. And then show dot crosshairs when you're like sprinting and that dot appears. I have that turned on just because it's always good to know where the middle of your screen is even before you've like stopped to start shooting. Hit markers turned on. My default one is half the size at 0.5. I have the volume, which is the sound, turned up just because I feel like I don't want my screen to get cluttered, but my audio doesn't generally get cluttered. It's like a really good way of getting feedback to whether I'm hitting someone. But that honestly is just personal preference. The hit marker duration is just default. And then the hit marker size, I have it 0.7. That makes it smaller and the opacity makes it a bit more see-through, just so it doesn't clutter my screen. I've got headshots on red, just due to, I've always done this over time, headshots on red. I'm pretty sure I have pretty much the same settings, except the size is 1 and the opacity is 0.7. Yeah, that's what I've decided to turn it on to. The armor hit marker color I've got on dark blue. I don't even remember why. I think it was just due to Battlefield 2042 being like that, and I played that a little bit. I have that one on 0.7 on size as well. And then kill I have on turquoise. I don't know why, but over time I've just built the muscle memory. All the way since when BF4 had an update, they let you change the color of your crosshairs, of your hit markers, sorry, and I just changed it to turquoise back then when I was little, and it's just happened now. So now whenever I get a kill, it's kind of like, it just makes sense, you know, to see turquoise. Sometimes with headshots, if I get a headshot kill, it'll be red instead of turquoise, which can kind of throw me off a little bit. I don't know if that's a bug or not. But level progression is the bar down the bottom that shows your level. At any point you can just look down and see what level you are. Squad list is down the bottom left in green. You'll see your squad's name. I have those both turned on. Sort by score I really like. It's just quick that I can hit tab and look like kind of near the top to see where I am and all of that. That's honestly how I prefer it. I don't think I'd ever sort by group, but show line towards objective. I actually don't know what this is and I do not have it turned on. I will have to test this out and I'll edit in a bit where I'm saying what it is pretty much right here. Alrighty guys, sorry about this one, but I did some research and people say it does absolutely nothing, so that was probably a little bit less interesting than I thought it was going to be. Now we're moving on. My friendly color I have on like a bit more of a darker blue, like a bit less green, a bit darker. It doesn't really matter, it's not particular. Like, I'm going to make it a little bit darker right now, purely because it's literally just preference. I just really like that. I think that, I don't know if it actually changes the color of the icon above someone's head, but it definitely does change it on the map. If it does change the icon above someone's head, the reason I actually do prefer dark is because if they're on top of a hill, their little triangle won't blend in that bad with the background. I also have the friendly icon size on 0.4, making it a lot smaller, purely because it just clutters your screen so much and because there's so many teammates. Steam friend color, I just have it on bright pink. I just like that color. I think it looks really nice, so that's the color I got it on. Party member is on deep pink. Squad friend color is on green. I actually sometimes like upping it to be more like of like a lime green. Like, that's just my preference. That literally, like, there's no reason, I just like lime green a bunch. Squad captain color I have on yellow, and I do not make any of them smaller apart from the friendly color, just because there's way less of them. Enemy color red, I don't actually know what this does, because right now there is no like icon, but it does do the map color, and I like it on more of a deeper like blood red. I don't know why, it's just how I've done it for ages. Friendly name tag size I have on 14. I don't know what the default is, but I have it on 14. Oh yeah, here's how you do the objectives. First of all, I'm gonna remove the green and turn that down a bit. I've been meaning to do this. I like that deeper red, and I like that dark blue on the teammate objective. I don't show FPS and stuff, but you can if you want to, if you're trying to get an idea on how well you're running. I don't do network stats either. Ping size, I think, is the pings that your teammates leave, not the number of lag. So I just have this on 100. You could definitely turn this down or up depending on your preferences. Sometimes you might have a hard time looking through red pings that your teammates make. Then I would definitely recommend turning it down, but so far I don't run into that very much, so I just have it at 100. Flag size, I have it normal. Flag opacity though, I turn it down to 50 just because, or maybe I haven't turned down the flag opacity, but the non-target flag opacity I have on 10, because I often find that enemies are in between the flag and me, and so they'll have, I can't see them very well, so I turn that down a bunch. This is really good if you have good map knowledge, and it'll honestly get you into a habit of checking your map more, which I really recommend doing anyways. Border opacity, I still don't know what this is. Alrighty, crosshair size. I don't quite know what this is because right now we don't really have crosshairs. It could refer to the dot, but I doubt it. So I'm not really too sure what this does, so I just have it all on default. Show key bindings. That is like when you're going up to someone and it says press F to drag. That's that kind of thing. I have that turned on. Show button to help friendlies. I don't quite know what that means. I think that means when you press middle mouse when looking at someone to call out that you're going to heal them. That's actually a thing you can do if you are a medic and someone needs heals. If you press middle mouse, it'll come up on their screen. It'll be like, oh, Mr. Wong is coming to heal you or whatever. I do have chat enabled. I have it on 10. I think that's just all default. I have it on auto hide, which means it hides when people aren't talking. I do turn the chat off sometimes just because I get way too into it and I look at it a lot. Toggle map, yeah, definitely don't want on hold map. I have not mucked with any of these at all. But yeah, anyways, these are my settings for gameplay. Next, I'm going to go over the controls. I have directional climbing on. I don't quite know what that actually means. I think that means that the climbing is based on where you're looking, which I would do anyways, because that means that you can control exactly where you're going to climb. I'm not too sure if that's actually what that means, but I would have it on anyways. If it did mean that, I would put it on. Toggle lean is what I have. This is just preference, really. Back in the day with Rainbow Six, there was a bit of a rumor that you should have it on hold lean and not toggle. But it eventually got changed and people started saying that toggle was the best. Toggle lean is really, really good. Toggle aim I do not have on. I think that this is purely because when I'm making very quick decisions, I want to be able to let go of a button instead of press it. And choosing to stop aiming is a decision that you want to make really fast, because when you stop aiming, you become quicker in your movements, meaning that all decisions you make on toggle aim will be slower than hold aim. So I recommend having hold aim. I have toggle dragging. This is just so I can press F and I don't have to hold it when dragging. I find this really, really good for bandaging a dragging player. I don't double bind, so this is what I recommend. I do not recommend toggle sprint. I think it's good to be able to stop sprinting whenever. So maybe you're running through an open field and someone swings you. It's good to be able to just suddenly stop sprinting and aim at the enemy instead of having to tap the button again. Reload style. This refers to how you choose whether you drop a mag versus just putting a mag into your rig. So right there on that second reload, I didn't drop a mag. I have it, so when I double tap R, it drops. This is just due to Tarkov, I used to do this. And when I tap R, it does a regular reload. Now, there are some arguments for not doing it this way. That is that people often say that if you have it on double tap, right? Now it has this thing called a reload tap delay, which is 0.2 seconds. That means if I do a regular reload, like I don't drop the magazine and I just tap R once, I tap R and then the game waits 0.2 seconds to then do the reload, meaning that my regular reloads are actually slower. I personally do not mind this because it's like, if I want to do a fast reload, I want it to not have this delay. I want it to be as fast as I press, like really, really quick. So I like to, instead of making my regular reloads a little bit faster, I personally choose to double down on my fast reloads and make them super quick. I think it's a good habit to fast reload in this game because it is just that much faster. It's a good habit to build. So I think that having a double tap on drop is a really good habit builder. So yeah, I would do that. I'm pretty sure these are just default. I know that sounds crazy, but I'm pretty sure these are just default. I have my DPI on my mouse set to 650 degrees per inch, which, you know what, may as well right now explain what that means. You can skip ahead, by the way. I'll chuck a timestamp to the end of this explanation. But degrees per inch refers to the amount of degrees you move in game per inch that your mouse moves. pretty much. So what people used to do was they would get their mouse pad length, and then they would want to make their mouse pad an entire 360 for the whole mouse pad, which coincidentally, I haven't meant to do this, but mine happens to be pretty much that. I am a little bit further, so my sense is a bit high, I guess. But that's how people used to do their mouse pads way back in the day, and they used to do their sense. So now we've just derived that for degrees of field of view moved in game per inch. Yeah, so that's kind of interesting if you're looking at a bit of history to do with that stuff. So inverting vertical and horizontal. Well, another really quick thing about that. When I was doing some research, I found out that people who do this, the way they explain why they invert vertical, a lot of like old school games do it. The way they explain it is, imagine like the top of your head, right? And like the muscles on your neck. So the top of your head, whenever you want to look down in real life, the muscles get pushed up. So it's like as if they're moving the muscles with the mouse. And if you want to look up, of course, you get the back of your head to tilt down. Sorry, I just tilted my head up in real life. I don't know why I do that. I could just imagine, but yeah, so it's like as if you're moving the muscles on your neck, which I think is kind of interesting. I think it's kind of like if you had your hand on the back of someone else's head and you wanted them to look up, you would pull your hand down, and if you wanted them to look down, you'd put your hand up. So it's kind of interesting. I heard about that, but anyways, sorry about the explanations there. I just think it's cool to know about that stuff. My aim down sight sense is just on default. I have everything on default. The reason I default it and don't change it is not because that the game's default settings are really good or anything, but I'm a big believer in sensitivity doesn't matter as much as you think. It's actually better to just have a consistent sensitivity that you don't change, because that means you'll build muscle memory. I don't really have like any way to prove to you that I have a better idea or anything than other YouTubers, but I do pretty good at a lot of games, and I generally find that it's good to build muscle memory. If you are wondering what you should do with your sensitivity, first of all, I just recommend trying mine and just sticking with it for like literally 2 weeks. Don't do like an hour, do like a good amount of time, because an hour won't let you know if your muscle memory is building at all, but do it for like a couple weeks. Just switch to mine. My in-game is this, and then my DPI is 650 on my mouse. That's what I recommend. If you are looking to not have my sensitivity, but you just want some knowledge about sensitivity in general, generally the lower the better. When you're new, it feels like higher the better. I used to say that to people, which I feel silly now because I now know that that's not true, but in shooters it's good to go low, because the more of your arm you're using, the faster you actually build muscle memory. So it's pretty good to have a lower sensitivity than a higher one. I know it might seem cool to be the kind of person who can like do a high sensitivity and can like still play and stuff, and trust me, I was that guy. And I wish I wasn't so stupid and I just switched. Don't chase clout, just do the thing, you know what I mean? But anyways, yeah, these are the control settings, and this is what I recommend. Now I'm going to move on to my key bindings. So this is just, the default looking. Here's an interesting thing. If you click on this and then move your mouse really fast left, that's how you get your mouse settings to appear here. So if you're trying to do your helicopter settings, that's how you get it to go left and right for your aiming. But anyways, I'll explain that later. Yeah, movement settings are on default. I've seen people play other games on E, D, S, F, which you call ESDF, is normally what you call that. And the reason you might play with those on your settings is because then your ring finger has two different keys it can go to, W and Q, not just Q. Some people really like that. I actually personally used to play this a really long time ago, but I since switched. No particular reason, but yeah, that's what I recommend. It's pretty good doing it that way if you're looking for more binds on the left side of your movement keys. Anyways, one caveat real quick though is that you will have to rebind things that were on E and F and change Q to W and things, so it's up to you. It does take a bit of effort, but you'll have extra keys to work with. Sprint is just on left shift. Toggle crouch, I don't actually use the toggle crouch very much, but I like to have it just in case. Like for instance, you might be behind a sandbag and you just want to stay crouched because you're healing or reloading or something. It'll be good to have a toggle so you don't have to hold control whilst doing other keys. Prone's on Z, that's purely just due to over time I've got it on that. A lot of players actually do left alt in other games. I don't recommend it, but you could do that if you want to. There's no downside really, it's just I have it on Z. Regular crouch on control, you could flip that and C, that's totally fine. I like left control purely because my pinky already isn't really doing anything, so I like that I can have crouching on a key where it's not going to interfere with other keys no matter what. I generally am not using my thumb either, but I find that I spacebar a lot more than I sprint if I'm crouching. But anyways, enough about that. Left control is what I have it on. Left lean on Q, right lean right on E. These are just the default binds. I don't do the double bind thing just because I don't double bind because I don't want to strafe left and right. So when I say, when I say double bind, I mean binding it to A and D, or they bind it to A and D over here. They like bind it. And the reason they do this, so when you move left and right, you automatically start leaning. I don't recommend it purely because there's tons of moments where I want to move left and right and I don't want to lean or switch my lean. Yeah, but if you want to get more tips on leaning, check out Snoozin on YouTube, SNOOZN. He's really good at the whole leaning thing. He's a very good player, honestly. He's really good. Yeah, he's super cool. Anyways, check him out. He has a couple funny videos as well. I have jump on space and vault on actually a different key. I have it on a side mouse button. This is where it comes into, if you used ESDF, you could put this on Q if you really wanted. But anyways, I have it on my mouse button because I find that sometimes I want to jump on top of a sandbag without jumping over it. You also, a tip with this is, I mentioned this in my one of my first videos, but I'll mention it again, is you don't have to spam the vault key. Like, I don't have to spam the button. I can actually just hold the button and I'll do a vault. And you can vault on corners. I've mentioned this before, but I just, I'm doing a settings guide and it makes sense to mention it. So yeah, hold the vault key, don't spam it. That doesn't have to be a setting, that's just how it works. Alrighty, free look on left alt. I never really use this because I don't think you can look very far. Yeah, it's like the Tarkov alt lane. I wish it was a bit further. Drone movement, I don't really change this at all. Interestingly, zeroing increase and decrease. People say to put this on a key. I think it's better to just hold alt, because right now if you want to zero, you hold down your alt key and see how it goes into free look mode, and then I scroll up and down. That's how I change my zero. That is default settings. You don't have to do anything to change that. So I personally would not recommend binding it onto the keys, or you can if you want to, but get in the habit of just doing the left alt thing, because that's totally fine to do that. Steady aim on shift, I think that only actually works with long range scopes on snipers, so I wouldn't worry about that too much. Combine magazine on P, if I had more mouse buttons I would chuck it on P, but I don't. So if you're doing ESDF, this could be a really good button to have on Q, to be honest. Magazine check I think is pretty useless. You could almost unbind that, and same with safety mode being on J. You could honestly unbind this and it wouldn't really make a difference because they don't really do anything. Magazine check, just so you guys know what that feature is, when I hit H, see down the bottom there, right in the middle of my screen down the bottom, it shows me exactly how many bullets I have. I don't really care about that because down the bottom right, see that magazine goes down? The one on the furthest right is always the one in the gun, so I can always just see how much I have anyways. So I don't really recommend pressing H very much. I don't have the switch next, switch previous. People put this on scroll wheel in other games by default. I highly recommend getting out of the habit of using scroll wheel, because in every game it will just help you out having scroll wheel on other things. So I do recommend not changing this bind, but in other games, you could scroll wheel to change. In this game you cannot. Interact, F, that's like bandaging, grabbing, all that stuff. Throw gadget, X, yeah, that's when you have like a med kit, and you can hit X to throw it on the floor and people can hold F on it to use it. I can't because I'm not low health, but I'd be able to hold X on that to use it. I can't pick it up for some reason in the shooting range, so I won't have a med kit to show you guys stuff. Cut rope on caps lock, that's when you're going up a rope. You can hit caps lock to just destroy the rope so people can't follow you up. You can actually crouch down, lean to the right and see the rope and cut it, and then keep moving if you really wanted to make it so enemies can't follow you. Push J, this is like pushing jet skis and things that are beached, and cars that are, quad bikes that are in the water and things. Drop caches for a game where they got removed. Don't know why I got removed. I guess people didn't play it enough. Build and unbuild. I've been thinking about putting it unbuild on a different button because I actually would like to be able to do that without hitting caps lock, but haven't quite gotten around to it. Build, by the way, does not refer to opening the build menu. It refers to like a sandbag is already on the ground and you want to make it a full sandbag instead of a half one. That's what that refers to, not opening the thing. Now, open social tab. This is like opening your party. I would have this on something like home that's just far away on your keyboard. Ping on middle mouse button. I've been thinking about changing this. Honestly, I don't ping very much. I'd maybe put this on a different key, but I'm not too sure. Map, scoreboard, and here, squad leader menu. This is a big one. I have this on a side mouse button. This is the menu that lets you put down spawn points, sandbags, and call in ammo drops. I have it on a side mouse button purely so I can build concrete barriers to block shots and stay alive and to get on top of things. It's a really handy thing to get used to because the concrete barriers build instantly. It's a good habit to start proning and instantly building because now I actually do it very quick. Even when I'm flashbanged, I can do it. So I highly recommend it. Yeah, I think these are all the settings that I would do. Oh, also, I would copy my helicopter settings. I don't know how to explain them because I actually just watched another video to get these settings for you guys, but I have been trying these out and they are really, really good. This will be so when you're in a helicopter, you can use your mouse to aim the crosshair instead of having to use A and D. Yeah, I highly recommend doing this sooner rather than later so you get the muscle memory built, but this is really, really fantastic. Yeah, quick thing about the rappelling rope as well. Q to drop it. People say that you should drop it, there's no downside. That is wrong. The rope does actually make you move a little bit slower. So yeah, or maybe it makes you accelerate slower or something, but it does actually change how your helicopter works, so do not have the rope down all the time, if you're in a little bird especially. That is all the keybinds. And now I'm going to move on to video settings. So I have mine on pretty low. I'm pretty sure I turned them down just because I'm a really big get the max amount of FPS in a game kind of guy, just because it reduces your input lag and I just get a whole lot of feedback on what's happening on the screen. And also just, this is a personal thing, I generally just feel like my game feels better when it has a higher FPS. It just feels nicer. I like the smooth feeling. Vertical sync, old school gamers will be like, don't turn this on, because it used to just lock your game to 60 FPS. So if you have a better monitor, that'd be bad for you. Now it doesn't do that. It actually tries to lock it to so pretty much there's a thing called screen tearing. VSync turns that off. If your game has really good FPS, but it feels stuttery for some reason, VSync could really help you. But VSync now does not lock it to 60, it locks it to the highest amount it can be whilst reducing screen tearing, which now would be just your refresh rate, and even potentially higher. So I do recommend VSync. Granted, if you turn on VSync and your game doesn't run well for some reason, turn it off, because I don't know your exact specs and everything. So screen scale, if you're on a low-end system, this will be a setting that can really boost your FPS. I'm going to really quickly turn it to 1 just to show you how like bad it looks. It also, like this, oh my gosh, it looks like I'm playing Minecraft right here. This does boost your FPS by like a bunch because you just straight up are like rendering way less like stuff. Yeah, you get like way good FPS on this. I highly recommend doing it if you're on a low end system. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, the feedback, I could like, this is like kind of stupid, I can actually feel the feedback for this is way better than normal, so that's kind of interesting. Yeah, screen scale will do that, make your game look like super duper crisp or not. Turning it above 100 really doesn't have much of an effect. I've heard some people say to turn it to 125. I don't actually understand why. I've never actually had that make a difference for me. If anything, I feel like it'll just be make my game run a little worse. So I just keep mine on 100, which will just be make it look like what your resolution is supposed to look like. So 100 will be the default that you should have it on. The game might default to 125. I recommend turning it down to 100 just for the FPS boost. Field of view I have on 103. This is the field of view. This is pretty much, I know you guys already probably know what this is, but I'm going to explain everything for new players. Look how zoomed in my screen is. Now, granted, this does make targets on your screen a lot bigger. Yeah, anyways, a lower FOV means that your spatial awareness will be worse because you won't be able to see to the left and right of you as much, but the targets are way, way bigger. The best players in pro like scenes in other games, they do something else where they lower their resolution to, they call it stretched res, if you've ever heard the term stretched res. What they do is they get a resolution that instead of it being a ratio of 16:9, which I'll put a little graphic up right now, I'll pause right here, it'll be, instead of having 16:9, they have one that's 4:3. I quickly just am doing this now after editing. I think it'd be better to just straight up show what it looks like. This is 4:3, unstretched. And you can tell it's unstretched because there should be these giant black bars to the left and right of my screen, meaning that this is 1280 by 960, i.e. a ratio of 4:3, doesn't fit my whole screen because my screen is a 16:9 ratio. So there's these huge black boxes, but if I go exclusive full screen, which will make my recording a little bit weird, by the way, like I've just noticed that it does that, so it might break a little bit, but the audio should be fine. Now it's what you call stretched res, and the reason you do this is because all the targets on your screen are bigger. Now, I don't mean the hitboxes themselves change, because of course they don't. I just mean that the ratio of pixels that are enemy versus not enemy are different. So the enemy takes up a certain amount of pixels on my screen now, and that number of pixels they take up on my screen is way higher than before. So the enemy does indeed become bigger on my screen, but the sides of my screen are actually lost. To the left and right, there are actually bits on my screen I can't see anymore, just like when I lower my FOV. So I personally think stretch res is a little bit silly purely because lowering your FOV does the same exact thing, except my game doesn't look like crap when I lower my FOV, but lowering my resolution, everything's all pixely and all weird. My game does run really, really well, which is one bonus. But right here, I can barely see what I'm shooting at, you know, like, yeah. But anyway, so this is what stretch res is. I think that if you're looking to be like super duper duper good, this could be something you want to do if you're looking to like get your aim at like the peak. If you're trying to do that, try first just lowering your FOV and sticking with it for a bit, because you may be surprised. Another quick thing just to mention whilst I'm here, lowering your resolution doesn't even have to be to a weird ratio. You can have a good ratio, but just a lower resolution will actually increase your FPS by like quite a lot. So yeah, maybe do that if you're also like bad on FPS. Maybe just lower your resolution and that'll help as well. But anyways, onwards. Screen check I've turned down to 0 just because I don't like my screen shaking. It just makes it hard to aim, makes it really hard to track moving targets. It especially makes it hard where if I'm mid-shooting and my screen shakes, it makes it really, really hard to track someone that's moving around. I think I have those shadows enabled off. I'm going to see what it does real quick. So these lines, tab to no clip in the shooting range by the way, but see these this line on the building? With shadows enabled on, you see those lines, which are really, really good for depth perception in buildings. I've just found recently that having them off makes me feel like my visibility is really, really good. But also my game kind of looks like crap, so I do understand if you don't want that on, but it does help with visual clarity and seeing enemies really, really fast. Yeah, so I have it turned off, honestly, but you could do either and it's totally fine. Shadow resolution, I think is like broken right now. Let me turn it all the way up real quick. Oh, it isn't broken. So it makes the shadows a lot less like smudgy. It also, I heard, changes how medium scopes look in game. Let me try that out real quick. I've got to fact check this right now. For instance, when I look in this scope, the dot and thing is very clear and there's not a whole lot of red visual noise around it. There is still a lot compared to other games, but there's not a whole lot of noise around it. But if I go video and I turn this all the way down and hit apply, now when I aim, there's a bunch of visual noise around it, making it really hard to see targets. So if you use a lot of medium range scopes, I actually recommend turning your shadow resolution up, but I don't, so I have it turned down. But I think if you have this turned off, it doesn't fix it either. Yeah, so shadow distance 50, I think that's purely for FPS. I don't really think it really matters. Anti-aliasing is also kind of personal preference. I have it on SMAA medium. I think I just mucked around and just found whatever I thought looked better, but no anti-aliasing. Pretty much anti-aliasing is, see these corners right here, I'll try to make it like happen, but see how there's like, I might have to zoom in, but see how there's almost like stairs on the corner? Like all these corners make these like scratchy edges that'll like look like stairs. Whereas if I turn my anti-aliasing up to my one that I always do, the stairs are a lot smaller, and means that things that are moving at distance don't look as weird with this anti-aliasing on. Like it doesn't create weird effects. So I have it on SMA medium. I do recommend it. I think it looks really good. Destructive quality low, LOD quality all the way up. LOD quality is good to have up because if I have it on low, things at range render in differently. So LOD stands for level of detail, which means that things at range, right? Your computer goes, I don't want to render in this tree exactly as if it was in front of me. In front of me, this tree has tons of detail, but from up here, the computer chooses which details to remove. It's all good here in the shooting range. I assume they've really tuned everything in the shooting range to be perfect, but there's a lot of bugs in the actual maps make things like buildings not appear, so you'll shoot at a guy and nothing will be, like your shots won't be able to hit him, but you can see him clearly, and it's really confusing. If you have the LOD quality turned all the way up, that won't happen as much. So I turn it up. You will see more enemies through things though, but it feels kind of dirty, so I don't turn it down. It feels wrong. Number of lights, I don't know what that is, but I have it turned down. Rain quality on low, I don't know why, I just turn it down. I have my render distance on the lowest because you don't need it to be any higher, and it's just really, really good for FPS. So I recommend turning it off. Motion blur I recommend having off as well. I'm going to turn it on here real quick, and it's actually not really doing anything for some reason. But motion blur I will turn off in all games. I used to have it on, and you definitely can play good with it on. It's not like a skill thing. It's more just because when you're turning, it's easier to see things on the edges of your screen when you're turning with motion blur off. Motion blur on doesn't really afford you anything at all, so you may as well have it off. But if you're looking for a smoother look, I would turn it on. it is an advantage to have it turned off. If your PC runs games badly, you could turn it on for a smoother feeling without your FPS actually being higher. So I do recommend this. I used to do this on my laptop when I used to play on a laptop, and I was a pretty high rank in a couple games even on a laptop, and motion blur I did have it on, so I do recommend it if your computer's bad. Vignette makes the edges of your screen slightly dark in certain situations. Highly recommend turning it off, it's just bad for visual clarity. ADS effect is when I might have to go into my photo editing software and do this one for you guys. I'll have to show you what it roughly looks like, but yeah, it's not working, but I'll do that. I'll do it right now. This should switch about now to a picture that looks like actual ADS effect and what it looks like in game when it's turned on. And because I already know what it does, so I can do that. Contrast intensity I have turned to 100. I don't see it changing when I apply it here, but I have it on 100. I don't quite know how that'll look. I won't be able to change that in a photo thing, so I won't. My audio, I have it on 5 because this audio is really loud for this game. I prefer a louder game than a quieter game because I prefer to be able to turn it down than to not be able to turn it high enough. So I'm glad the developers made it loud, and I have my master on 5. Kill sound volume on 100, I might turn that up in the future. I have the opt-in voice chat, of course. I don't have death mic because, look, we all die and get mad in a split second. Like, we all have had moments like that, or if you haven't, I'm sure you can understand people who have, and I don't want to, you know, curse people with me going, oh, what did he do that for? You know what I mean? And then before I can rationalize what actually happened. So I turned that off. I've got all my volume just on default because I just changed the master. I don't think things need to be louder than other things. Yeah, I don't think any of that needs to be changed, honestly. And yeah, this is what I've got. I have it on stereo, not quad. I might try quad and surround to see what's up, but right now I just got it on stereo. So yeah, those are my settings, honestly. I know that this video will probably be different from a lot of other YouTubes, a lot less quick and snappy, but I personally think that I really like catering to players who are brand new and actually need to learn, because I find a lot of YouTubers claim to cater to new players, but they actually don't, because they don't show off all the settings. But I really wanted to show you guys everything and give a quick explanation on them. So now when you go to other shooter games, you might have a bit more knowledge and a bit more of a know-how on what you want to do. Because the first thing I do when I play a new game generally is go into the settings and change it. That being said, I actually didn't with BattleBit purely because I found the game so fun and I just wanted to play really fast because I knew it would run good because of the graphics. But yeah, anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I know it's a bit slower than normal, but I wanted to give you guys all the info. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.